So welcome along. My name is Rob Taylor from Dads in Business, where we aim to help busy dads, busy working dads, bring the best of themselves to home and to work. And as part of that, we aim to run this video series where we invite business specialists, coaches, personal development focused, business focused, to have a natter about their area of specialism. Because we've worked with hundreds, thousands of busy business owners where busyness development seems to be the focus. Busy is the measure of success. But soon enough, we start to see cracks, more time away from home. There's no profits, there's overexpansion, there's stress or anxiety, or even worse, that comes for the business owner. I often say they don't teach dad in school, and neither do I see specific sessions or lessons or learnings around entrepreneurship. Often we're great at on the tools, doing our passion, but often there's no marketing plan or sales process or strategy to help us along. And therefore, we also tend to risk imparting bad habits onto our kids as well, which can't be a good thing for future business development and future business leaders. I was lucky. I self-studied, and a big part of my self-study was reading the books of our guests today. It helps me breed confidence, not only in my own money management and business development, but as I try and navigate that into my kids, as well as a bit of respect around money would be quite handy too. So yeah, part of our work is to challenge and change that business equals success mantra, and hopefully to support us on that mission in our chat today. I'm delighted to welcome along the one and only Mr. Mike Michalowicz. Mike, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning to you. Thanks for having me on your show, Rob.
No, listen, thank you very much for jumping on. You're a busy man. I appreciate greatly your time. For those who aren't familiar with your work, could you give us a potted background as to why the heck you do what you do? And then we'll dive into some of your books, if that's all right.
Yeah, by all means. So if you're not familiar with me, and I presume most people aren't, I am an entrepreneur my entire adult life, ever since I graduated university. And I had a defining moment. I built some businesses and sold them. I was very successful in the definition that we measure, to your argument, work like crazy and make money, but I was sacrificing family and all that. I started a third business, and that business was far from successful. Not only was I working insanely hard, it didn't have a return. In fact, I lost all my money building that business. I was an angel investor. I was horrible at it. I call myself the angel of death. I was so bad at it.
God.
And I lost everything except for my family. We lost our home. We lost our possessions. I had to restart anew because I had no money. And that became an awakening that I didn't realize what it takes to be successful, how to bring about balance. And I committed to investigating that. And that's why I became an author. That was 15 years ago. And I became a full-time author. I devoted my life to the research of entrepreneurship. And honestly, every book I write is something I need for myself. Fast forward to today, as an author, I also am a shareholder in 6 different businesses. So I have all these businesses that are run independently by presidents, but I'm involved in them directly or indirectly. So that's how I keep my feet in the entrepreneurial journey and write everything I discover.
I think that's what makes your sort of books and your journey so relevant, I think, to small business owners and owner-managed businesses. It comes from that lived experience, if you like, doesn't it? And you said what it takes to bring about balance. Why, as business owners, don't we find that? Why is, in your experience, why do you see small businesses running out to get as busy as possible, stressing themselves out? What's spurring that on, do you think?
I think there's a couple of things. First of all, there is a bravado associated with it. If you work a 10-hour day and I can brag that I worked an 11-hour day, it serves my fat ego, but only in the moment. It's a losing proposition, but there's a sense of I'm more driven, and that's nonsense. What we need to measure is not the hours worked, it's the impact we have. I think the other thing is there is this interesting shift in what serves the business. In the beginning, when you're just starting up, you don't have any clients, you have to try many things just to see if you can get traction somewhere. Usually it requires a lot of effort. We are scant on resources. We don't have employees typically when we start up, or probably very few. We don't have the technology and all this stuff in place. So we make up for it on raw effort. So what we see is this growth in the beginning stages through effort. There's usually a necessary correlation. But then we have this perverted belief that, oh, effort translates into growth, and therefore I need to keep pushing harder. But it's a diminishing return. You work harder and harder and growth is slowing down, but I'm like, I'm working as hard as I can. Maybe I have to push even more. And we exhaust ourselves. We never, many of us don't get to that realization. Oh, what got us to this first stage is not the same thing that'll get us to the second stage. So many business owners struggle to move out of the strategic. They live in this fire to fire, panic to panic mode, work harder and longer, and they don't transition to this strategic analysis and preparing for the business. And that they permanently stay stuck. They work ridiculous hours, but they stay stuck in a business that never satisfies their ultimate vision.
This is that assumes they had a vision in the first place.
Yeah.
And I think, Mike, I'd like if we can, I think it'd be great value to the viewers and the listeners. You're an author of multiple business books. Yeah. I'm lucky enough to have read and applied a lot of the learnings from them.
Thank you.
I wondered if you could just share a couple of sentences, so have a bit of fun around this, and have a couple of sentence summary as to why people might read this book at this time.
Yeah, sure.
Does that make sense as a challenge, Mike?
I'm up for the challenge. I'll see if I can do each one in 2 sentences or less.
Here we go. Let's go. So I'm going to pick straight off the top of my pile, and I'm going to go for clockwork. Who should read this, and when should they read it in their business journey?
It's written for entrepreneurs who are living in the doing. I mean, you do all the work, and it teaches you to design the business to run itself. You'll learn that delegation is rarely done properly, and you'll learn how to delegate and systematize.
Brilliant. Fix This Next.
Fix This Next is for the fire putter outer. You know, many entrepreneurs start off, I think, as firefighters, and then if they have an employer too, they become the fire chief. We're constantly running around trying to fix everything. Fix This Next is a tool to identify the one most important need your business has in this moment, to fully improve that, and the entire business will then strengthen. And then that system will reveal the next need so you can address that and so forth. It puts you in sequence of doing the right things at the right time.
Instead of trying to do everything for everyone all the time, right?
Which is the recipe for struggle.
Yeah, exactly. One of my favorites, pumpkin plan. What the heck's this about, Mike?
Yeah, well, a little bit about pumpkin farming, truthfully, because I studied what colossal pumpkin farmers do to grow an organic, healthy pumpkin. And what was fascinating to me is it translates directly to a business, what we can do to facilitate organic, healthy, explosive growth. You don't need outside capital. You simply need to deploy some strategies with your existing client base and assessing them properly, tapping into what's called the vendor well, and that combined concoction inevitably results in organic, healthy, explosive growth.
I think one of my biggest takeaways, and definitely something that we share with our business community, is directly from this, is that it takes you away from that it's not everyone is my customer mentality, but it's focused on the specific pumpkins. And it's changed people's businesses and potentially their lives moving forward by applying what they learn in that. Really powerful stuff. One of your more recent books, Mike, Get Different.
Oh, Get Different.
In a business journey, should we read Get Different?
Yeah, this is if your marketing is ineffective. And I'll tell you this, many small businesses I interviewed, the owner says, oh, I get referrals. That's where I get my business. If you're getting referrals from customers, that means your customer believes in you so much that they're actively marketing for you. You have a responsibility to market. They're introducing you to their trusted friends. So this is a method to market that's effective. And I like to study behavioral science. I'm not a behavioral scientist by any stretch, but I just enjoy the concept. What I found is there are certain triggers that we consumers, humanity, always respond to, and we can market to those human triggers and we'll be engaged. Most marketing is just do what everyone else does. Everyone else is running Facebook ads, I'll do the same, and it's never effective. Break from the common noise, do something that's different, play into the human kind of wiring, and you'll be wildly successful in your marketing.
Yeah, we hear this a lot, Mike, in businesses and teams that we talk to. Word of mouth is my biggest driver of work. And now we've got an actual example of, well, what about if a worldwide pandemic stops word of mouth happening? People aren't thinking about you anymore. You've got to be out there and you've got to get in people's faces. You got
to be out there. I think word of mouth is a great complement to what we do. And it is wonderful icing on the cake. I mean, let's take those opportunities, but it also is a decree that we need to deliberately market, because then we can control the throttle. We can speed things up, or if we want, slow things down.
Exactly. Yeah, we use similar language. You say it's the validation of what you're doing is great. Don't knock it, but also don't rely on it.
Yes.
So let's hammer that point home more. And then finally, in terms of your books for grown-up business owners, let's talk about Profit First, the cornerstone product that we talk about in our sessions.
Oh, I love that you spread the word on that so much.
Oh,
yeah, that's my most popular book currently. And what I was studying was this interesting phenomena that the vast majority of businesses are not profitable. There was a study out of the US, it was conducted by US Bank, but this is true globally too. 83% of small business is surviving check by check. 83% of small business is not profitable, which is ironic because the primary reason a business owner start a business is to be profitable. So almost everyone goes into business for financial freedom, but no one's experiencing it. And it confused me. This is what we want. How come we can't get there? And then one day I was looking at the foundational formula for profitability. And I said, oh my gosh, this formula is wrong. We are told our sales or turnover minus our expenses results in profit. But what we're saying in that very logical formula is that profit comes last. So while it's logical, it's not behavioral. It's human behavior that when something comes last is insignificant. It can wait. What I teach in Profit First is as you have sales, as revenue comes into your firm, take a predetermined percentage as profit, hide it from your business, run your business off the remainder. It's the pay yourself first principle that we've heard about in our personal lives. It's now applied to business. And as a result, you'll be permanently profitable.
And it's living proof. You know, I apply it in mine, a small business, but also in our business communities that we work with. Just this weekend, I did a little video explaining different bank accounts or different spaces in bank accounts. And it changes people's lives. I know that sounds dramatic, but it does. With the smallest businesses, like you say, pay check to check. There's too much month for the money, as it were. This provides a buffer and a vision to go months ahead. So for me, if you're to start anywhere with this, it's this one, Mike. I think it's.
Oh, I love hearing that. I've also found that, you know, we have over 600,000 companies that we're aware of that have implemented Profit First. And the common feedback I get, and I've implemented it for myself, I'm ground zero with that system, is the immediate relief from the stress, the mental stress. This is not a get rich quick scheme. You won't be profitable overnight, but you will be profitable immediately, but you won't have riches overnight. But what happens is overnight, my mind shifted and said, oh my gosh, I now have some control over this. I can see a future. And I started sleeping well at night. There was no more stress. And sure enough, week by week, month by month, the profits started accumulating. And now every quarter, as we're recording this, it's just a few days away. Every single quarter, I have a profit distribution that's coming to me. And it's just the most amazing reward for owning a business.
Yeah, and it prevents cash flow lag as well, I find. And
correct.
I've got my quarter end in a few days, and I'll take a bonus. And
me too.
Great.
Me too.
It's wonderful, and every business should be looking at this more and more. I mentioned, Mike, about this is your last book that we talked about for grown-ups. I mentioned as well in my introduction about how I see my kids on devices all the time. They watch these horrible YouTubers that just talk about giving money away, and I'll give $10,000 away here and Lamborghinis here. They have no sense of value, Mike. My kids don't have sense of value. Tell me there's a solution and a mission and a cause out there. And I think hopefully to help busy people like me instill a culture of money management in their kids, you've created something. Could you introduce me and the community about that as well?
Yeah, of course. So I wrote a book called My Money Bunnies. And this book I wrote for children between 5 to maybe 9 years old. And what I was doing was I realized this exact same phenomena that many children struggle with finances, and it amplifies into our adulthood. I can't tell you how many entrepreneurs I've talked with now who are in their 20s or 30s or 40s or later and say, I had no understanding how to manage money and I don't know how to handle it now. So I was like, oh, I want to teach the fundamental principles. So what I teach in My Money Bunnies is the exact same system as Profit First, but for our personal lives. And it's based upon a three jar system. And this isn't, by the way, nothing new. These systems have existed before. I'm just trying to put a new flavor or a new spin on it so it's appealing to children. So we earn money through chores or other activities that earn money. Then what we do is we divide the money up. But there's 3 things that we can serve. the categories are as follows. One's called the Anytime Bunny. And the idea behind the Anytime Bunny is anytime you want something, this is the jar you can go to do whatever the activity or purchase that thing is. So, I'm walking down the street and I see some ice cream. I want ice cream. I can use this jar should enough money be there to make that purchase. So it satisfies that immediate desire. And we need this in our adult lives too. We have the wants that appear, and we just look at the entire suite of money we have, everything in our income account or checking account, and say, okay, I have enough. But the reality is we need to carve it up. So Anytime is for those whimsical, in the moment choices. The next account is the One-Time Bunny. And what I heard from children saying, when I get older or one time in my life, I want to own just this one time X, or I just this one time I want to have Y. That's the dream, often defined as the one time. And so there's the one-time jar. And what we do is we save money here so that just that one time you can get that supply kit for arts or whatever that dream is you have, something that will require us to accumulate money. So anytime you have a whimsical desire. The one time is that dream. And the last account is the Sometimes Bunny. And the Sometimes Bunny is for being of service to others, because sometimes needs present themselves outside of what we ever expected. Maybe we have a friend in need or a community in need, or there's things going on that we can contribute to our society or our family, or sometimes even we're the ones who sometimes experience something that needs an emergency fund. And that's what this account is for. It's to give to others or to give to ourselves in the case of an emergency. And that's what that account's for. What I found so interesting or fun about this book is I'm getting pictures in regularly now from children who've done it. And the parents say, my kids have been taught this, but they never had to do it. Now that in the end of the book, there's this craft where they make their own bunny. They say, my kids are so into it because they've created it. There's a psychological behavior that happens that when we create something, we take possession in it. So the whole idea is not for someone to buy a system that they can just, piggy banks online or whatever. This is something that the child creates themselves because now they have ownership over it and they're more likely to participate in the system and hopefully carry that philosophy on for the rest of their lives.
Well, that's it, isn't it? And you're right. I was never brought up, in a moneyed family, and we never had the structures in place like that. And it was a case of, I rattled my piggy bank or my money box, and it's like, right, there's a new wrestling figure I'm going to go and buy. I've got enough money. I don't know what I'm going to do next week, but I don't care. It's the summer holidays. Whereas now, I guess something like that could help from an early age instill elements of what we talk about here, right?
Correct. And here's the kind of it's a little bit manipulative. Hopefully my good intention is this, that when a parent is teaching it to their child, there's cross accountability. The parent's got to do this. So what I'm hoping to inspire is that when people buy this for their child and they read it with them and say, oh my gosh, this is a system I can use. Maybe they don't use bunnies. Maybe they use envelopes or something, but maybe, just maybe because they're teaching it, they become the best students.
I think that's it, isn't it? It goes back to why you started your books in the first place. It's the lived experience. It's the shared experience. And
yes,
I think that's where the huge benefit comes from. Is the book out now? Where can people in the UK or elsewhere find it? And there's some free resources, I think, that you're
there is. So you can go to mymoneybunnies.com and get free resources. It is on Amazon. That book I self-published. My other books are through a mainstream publisher. I decided to self-publish My Money Bunnies because we're using a portion of the profitability to give to Pencils of Promise. So we're trying to support our community around us. And Kiva, which is a entrepreneurial organization for people in countries that are impoverished. So you can check out Amazon and pick up a copy today.
Brilliant. Super. Mike, I know you're a busy man, so we're going to have to let you go in a moment. In terms of connecting with you, finding more about the Profit First mission, where can these busy business owners go to spare a minute and start their journey? Where would you recommend they start?
Yeah, thank you for letting me share that. So you can go to MikeMichalowicz.com. That's my last name. It's so hard to spell. I wouldn't even try that. I go to a shortcut. It's Mike Motorbike. And the funny thing about Mike Motorbike, it's a nickname from grade school because it rhymed. It's the only G-rated nickname I have, by the way. The other ones are pretty violent. So if you go to MikeMotorbike.com, all these books we talked about there are up there. There's chapter downloads that are available totally for free. that you can check out the books and start reading them. Also, I used to write for the Wall Street Journal for many years, so you can get those articles for free and some video content. It's all at mikemotorbike.com.
MikeMotorbike.com, indeed. And Michalowicz also rhymes with stuff that's in your books, but we won't go into that now. Mike, a pleasure to chat to you. Thank you for sparing some time with us today. I'm sure that's a benefit to our community. Thank you very much, and we'll stay good, and we'll keep in touch.
You got it, Rob. This has been a joy. Thank you for having me.
Cheers, Mike. Thanks, Mike.